Here to analyze the situation in Afghanistan is former Undersecretary for Science and Technology at the Department of Homeland Security, Robert P. Griffin. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us on a Saturday evening. The president today, as we just heard, saying another attack is likely within the next 24 to 36 hours. We also had a warning before that suicide bombing that ISIS-K was planning something. Can we start with who is ISIS-K? They're an offshoot of ISIS in Pakistan and Afghanistan, correct?
They are. And when the ISIS caliphate fell in Iraq and Syria, they splintered into a number of different organizations. And ISIS-K is one of those organizations that developed from that breakup.
Okay, and the Islamic State is also an enemy of the Taliban, right? So the Taliban doesn't actually want them in Afghanistan. Will the Taliban have enough control over the country to contain this group, or is this just now going to be a breeding ground for all kinds of rogue terror groups to come in and plot more attacks against Americans?
Yeah, no, I don't believe that the Taliban is going to be able to control ISIS-K. They are known for their brutality. And as brutal as we think the Taliban is, ISIS-K thinks that the Taliban does not conform to the Quran and Islamic teaching enough. So they actually think that the Taliban is too weak. The Taliban is going to have a real difficult time dealing with ISIS-K. The attacks act as a magnet, as a flashing sign for other radicalized jihadists around the world that were looking for somebody or something to fight for. So what's going to happen is that Afghanistan is going to be filled with foreign fighters that are going to come in supporting ISIS-K.
So do you think the Taliban now, as Michael Schur called it, strange bedfellows, do you think the Taliban and the U.S. will now have a strengthened relationship as a result of this common enemy?
To a point, I don't think the United States will ever be friends with the Taliban. We're just so fundamentally opposed to each other on philosophical and religious reasons. At the same time, for the short period of time, I think that we have enough commonality to hopefully wind down our operations without further bloodshed. What happens after the pullout in our relationship with the Taliban, I think is still yet to see.
And there was such a loss of life. It was so tragic. This most recent attack, 13 American service members, at least 90 Afghans. What is the goal here?
So the goal is, there are a couple goals. First is that ISIS-K used this opportunity to show weakness from the Americans, from our military. So striking a blow at our military gains them prestige in their communities. It struck a blow at the Taliban. It was an opportunity to show that the Taliban is not as strong as people were thinking, that ISIS-K is an alternative for foreign fighters. And it was an opportunity to play on a global scale and get attention and get funding and support from other organizations around the world that supports the jihadist movement.
How is the U.S. preparing for another attack? Obviously, the airport was a likely target with so many people rushing to get out with the chaos and the disorganization. What are other likely targets, and how is the U.S. preparing?
So, unfortunately, the U.S.'s footprint in Afghanistan is much smaller than it was. ISIS-K is responsible for some absolutely horrific attacks, including an attack on a girls' school last year, which killed over 65 students. The year before, they attacked a hospital and they killed mothers and newborn children. So this notion of attacking soft targets and causing huge damage or huge loss of life to civilians is not something that they're concerned about. In fact, ISIS-K really views any Afghanistan that cooperated with the United States as infidels, and they see this as just part of their jihadist movement. These are very, very barbaric people.
And what about the remaining Americans still there and the Afghan helpers?
I mean, I just, my heart goes out to them, and I pray for their safety. I think Afghanistan is facing another generation of upheaval and war after so many other generations. It's a very, very ugly scene, and anybody who can get out of Afghanistan has to get out of Afghanistan.
All right, I hate to leave it on that note, but we appreciate your expertise. Robert P. Griffin, thank you for joining us this evening.